Hey everyone, welcome back. It's time for another deep dive. And today we're going to be looking at something super interesting.
Yeah.
We're going to be diving into the world of traditional Chinese medicine.
TCM.
TCM, exactly, and how it approaches mental well-being,
Yeah.
particularly stress, anxiety, and depression.
Right.
Now, we often think of these as, strictly mental health issues, right?
Yeah.
But you shared some fascinating information from Sian Chay Medical Institution.
Yeah.
And their perspective is really intriguing.
It is. It's very different from the way that Western medicine normally approaches it.
Right.
In Western medicine, the tendency is to look at neurochemicals.
Right.
Things like serotonin and dopamine and norepinephrine.
Yeah.
But TCM views these conditions as imbalances in the flow of qi.
Right. Okay, so qi is obviously a big deal in TCM.
Huge.
Huge, right? But can we break that down a little bit more for our listeners?
Yeah.
What does it actually mean to have, imbalanced qi?
Okay, so imagine your body's energy pathways, like a garden hose. And when you're stressed, it's like there are kinks in the hose.
Uh-huh.
And those kinks restrict the flow of water.
Okay.
That water is your taking. So TCM sees these mental health conditions not just as feelings, but as disruptions to this flow that impact your whole system.
Okay, so it's not just about, feeling sad or worried. It's about how those emotions actually get, stuck in a way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not just in your head.
And cause this ripple effect.
Yeah. They have a physical manifestation.
Right.
So, for example, with depression,
Okay.
Western medicine focuses on low mood.
Right.
But TCM emphasizes the impact on, your energy and your motivation, making it difficult to even do basic things. Get out of bed, get dressed. So it's like that feeling when the hose is completely blocked and no water can get through.
Yeah. That's a really helpful image, actually.
It is a good one.
Yeah. And it explains why their description of depression symptoms includes things like fatigue and, digestive issues.
Right.
Alongside the, kind of emotional heaviness.
Exactly, because it's all connected.
Right. It's all connected.
The body and mind are completely intertwined.
Yeah.
Which is something that Western medicine doesn't often take into consideration.
Yeah. They tend to separate it.
They do.
The mind and the body.
And so TCM even links specific organs to different emotions.
Oh, really?
Did you know that in TCM, the liver is associated with anger?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah.
So if someone's constantly frustrated, a TCM practitioner might look at their liver.
They might.
To see if there's an imbalance there.
Exactly. They would look for signs of imbalance in the liver's energy flow.
That's so interesting. I've never even thought about it that way.
There's a whole other way of looking at it.
Yeah.
And then with anxiety, TCM acknowledges the fight or flight response, but highlights how excessive worry disrupts your daily routine.
Okay.
So in this case, it's like the hose is constantly spraying water erratically instead of having a nice steady flow.
Oh, I see.
You see.
Okay, so we're seeing how TCM defines these conditions by their impact on the whole system. Exactly.
Not just the feelings themselves.
Not just how you feel,
right,
but how it's actually impacting your physical body as well.
But then how do they actually, fix these imbalances? What's in their toolbox, so to speak?
Well, according to Sian Chay,
Okay.
acupuncture and herbal medicine are two of the primary tools that they use.
Okay. So let's start with acupuncture. I've always heard it's helpful for pain, but how does it actually work for things like anxiety or depression?
Well, think of those acupressure needles, like strategically placed tools to untangle those kinks in your energy hose.
Okay.
So by stimulating specific points along the body's meridians, they're aiming to rebalance the flow of qi.
Okay.
Western research suggests that it can also stimulate the nervous system,
Okay.
triggering feel-good chemicals like endorphins.
So it's like hitting the reset button on your system,
Kinda.
clearing the blockages and encouraging that natural flow again?
Yeah, you could say that.
What about herbal medicine? That always seemed a little mysterious to me.
Yeah, it is a very nuanced area.
Yeah. And it's not like, in Western medicine where you go to the doctor and you say, I have a headache, and they give you a pill for a headache.
Right.
TCM practitioners don't just prescribe a pill for anxiety.
Right.
They carefully select herbs based on your individual needs and the specific imbalances that they're trying to address.
So it's very personalized.
Very.
What kind of herbs might they use?
Oh, well, there are many different herbs.
Yeah.
But for example, they might incorporate an herb like bupleurum,
Okay.
which is known for its ability to soothe liver qi stagnation,
Okay.
which can manifest as irritability, frustration, and even digestive issues.
Wow, so they're really considering the whole picture,
They are.
not just masking symptoms, but addressing the root cause.
Exactly.
It's a much more holistic approach than what I'm used to in Western medicine.
Yes, very much so.
But it's not just about needles and herbs, right?
No, it's not.
The source also mentioned lifestyle changes.
Absolutely. Lifestyle is a huge component of TCM.
Okay. So what kind of lifestyle changes are we talking about? Well, first of all, they recommend reducing or eliminating
Okay.
substances like nicotine, caffeine, and alcohol.
Okay, that makes sense. Those can all kind of like ramp up your anxiety,
You can't.
mess with your sleep.
Yeah,
And that wouldn't help if you're trying to balance your energy.
not at all. From a TCM perspective, these substances can introduce excess heat
Okay.
or disrupt the flow of qi. So they advise being mindful of what you consume
Right.
because it can directly impact your internal harmony.
So it's like being mindful of what you're putting in your system, not just from a, nutritional standpoint, but from an energetic standpoint.
Exactly.
What else did they highlight in terms of lifestyle adjustments?
Diet plays a significant role, as we touched on earlier.
Yeah.
Remember the recommendations to avoid overly hot, spicy, cold, and raw foods?
Yeah, I'm curious about the reasoning behind those.
Well, think of it this way. Imagine your qi is like a river flowing through your body.
Okay.
When you eat food that's too spicy, it's like throwing a bunch of rocks into the river.
Creating choppy water and disrupting the flow.
Oh, I get it. So spicy food is adding too much heat.
Too much heat.
Exactly.
Making things turbulent.
Exactly. And cold or raw foods are like building dams in the river,
Oh,
causing stagnation and blockage.
that's such a helpful visual.
Yeah.
So it's about choosing foods that promote smooth, balanced flow of energy.
Exactly.
Okay.
They also recommend ensuring that you're getting enough vitamin B,
Okay.
magnesium, and iron.
So we're nourishing the body and mind with what they need
Exactly.
to function optimally.
Yeah.
Does TCM link those specific nutrients to qi in any way?
While they don't necessarily delve into specific connections in this source, we can see how it ties in.
Okay.
Vitamin B complex plays a vital role in nerve function and energy production, which aligns with that concept of keeping qi flowing smoothly.
Okay.
Magnesium is known for its calming properties.
Yeah.
Supporting emotional balance, and iron is essential for oxygen transport,
Right.
which is vital for overall vitality. Right, so it all makes sense when you connect it back to that idea of balanced flow.
It does.
Okay, so we've got the dietary side of things.
Mm-hmm.
What about the mental and emotional side of things? What do they have to say about that?
They emphasize the importance of mental calmness and avoiding overthinking,
Right.
which can deplete qi and lead to imbalance.
That reminds me of something you mentioned earlier about not setting overly ambitious goals.
Yeah.
It's like they're advocating for a more mindful, balanced approach to life in general.
Exactly. They caution against pushing yourself to the point of exhaustion.
Right.
It's about recognizing your limits,
Yeah.
prioritizing rest and rejuvenation, and cultivating self-compassion.
It's almost like they're saying that constantly striving and pushing yourself can actually work against you.
In a way, yes.
Interesting.
It's a different way of thinking about achievement.
Yeah.
Instead of always pushing harder, TCM encourages finding that sweet spot where you're challenged but not overwhelmed.
It's interesting how these ancient principles align with a lot of modern wellness advice.
There you do.
It's like we're rediscovering the importance of these things.
Yeah, like mindfulness and balance.
Okay, so we've talked about diet,
Yeah,
mental and emotional well-being.
right.
Does TCM offer any specific techniques or practices for managing these conditions?
Well, they don't mention specific techniques like meditation or breathing exercises in this particular source.
Okay.
But, those practices are often incorporated into TCM treatments.
Right. I've heard of things like Tai Chi and Qigong.
Right.
Do those fit into this framework?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Practices like Tai Chi and Qigong are all about cultivating Qi and promoting relaxation
Okay.
through gentle movement, focused attention, and deep breathing.
It's like they embody that mind-body connection that TCM emphasizes so much.
They do.
It's not just about calming your mind. It's about harmonizing the energy throughout your whole system.
Exactly. And those practices can be incredibly powerful tools for managing stress and cultivating a sense of inner peace.
This deep dive is really opening my eyes to all these different approaches to well-being.
It is fascinating, isn't it?
I'm already feeling inspired to explore some of these techniques.
Yeah.
But before we get too carried away, maybe we should pause here and
Okay.
pick this up in our next segment.
Sounds good.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
Okay, so we'll see you soon for part 2.
Sounds great. Welcome back.
Yeah.
We've been talking about how PCM views these, conditions like stress, anxiety, and depression
Yeah.
as imbalances in the flow of ki.
Right.
And it's really fascinating how their whole approach to wellness is kind of intertwined with this idea.
Totally. We were just starting to unpack some of those lifestyle
Yeah,
recommendations from Sian Chay,
right?
and they mentioned cutting back on certain substances, right?
Yes, things like nicotine, caffeine, and
All right.
alcohol.
Okay, which makes sense because those can all kind of like, ramp up your anxiety, mess with your sleep.
Exactly.
And that definitely wouldn't help if you're trying to balance your energy.
Not at all. Right? From a TCM perspective, those substances can introduce excess heat
Okay.
or disrupt the flow of ki.
Right.
They advise being mindful of what you consume because it can directly impact your internal harmony.
It's like be mindful of what you're putting in your system, not just from like a nutritional standpoint, but from an energetic standpoint.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting. What else did they highlight in terms of lifestyle adjustment?
Well, the diet plays a significant role, as we touched on earlier.
Yeah.
Remember those recommendations to avoid overly hot, spicy, cold, and raw foods?
Yeah, I'm still kind of curious about the reasoning behind that.
Yeah. Well, think of it this way.
Yeah.
Imagine your ki is like a river flowing through your body.
Okay.
When you eat food that's too spicy,
Uh-huh.
it's like throwing a bunch of rocks into the river,
Okay.
creating choppy water and disrupting the flow.
Oh, I see. So spicy food is adding too much heat.
Too much heat.
Okay,
Right.
making things turbulent.
Exactly. And cold or raw foods are like building dams in the river, causing stagnation and blockage.
That's such a helpful visual.
It is a good one.
So it's about choosing foods that promote smooth, balanced flow.
Exactly.
Okay. What about things we should be adding to our diets to support that?
Well, they recommend making sure you're getting enough vitamin B, magnesium, and iron.
Okay. So we're nourishing the body and mind
Yeah.
with what they need to function well.
Exactly.
Does TCM link those specific nutrients to qi in any way?
While they don't delve into specific connections in this source,
Okay.
we can see how it ties in.
Yeah.
Vitamin B complex plays a vital role in nerve function and energy production,
Uh-huh.
which aligns with that concept of keeping ki flowing smoothly.
Right. Okay.
Magnesium is known for its calming properties,
Yeah.
supporting emotional balance,
Mm-hmm.
and iron is essential for oxygen transport,
Right.
which is vital for overall vitality.
Okay. So it all makes sense when you connect it back to that idea of like balanced flow.
It does.
Okay. So we've got the dietary side of things.
Yeah.
What about the like mental and emotional side of things? What do they have to say about that?
Well, they emphasize the importance of mental calmness
Okay.
and avoiding overthinking,
Right.
which can deplete ki and lead to imbalance.
That reminds me of something you mentioned earlier about not setting overly ambitious goals.
Yes,
It's like they're advocating for a more mindful, balanced approach to life in general.
exactly. They caution against pushing yourself to the point of exhaustion.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing your limits, prioritizing rest and rejuvenation, and cultivating self-compassion.
It's almost like they're saying that constantly striving and pushing yourself can actually work against you in the long run.
In a way, yes.
Interesting.
Like a different way of thinking about achievement.
Instead of always pushing harder.
Right. Instead of always pushing harder, TCM encourages finding that sweet spot where you're challenged but not overwhelmed.
It's interesting how these ancient principles
Yeah.
align with a lot of modern wellness advice.
They do. There's a lot of overlap there.
Yeah, like we're rediscovering the importance of things like mindfulness and balance.
Oh, exactly.
Okay, so I've talked about diet,
Mm-hmm.
mental and emotional well-being.
Right.
Does TCM offer any specific techniques or practices for managing these conditions?
Well, they don't mention specific techniques like meditation or breathing exercises in this particular source.
Right.
But, those practices are often incorporated into TCM treatments.
Right. I've heard of things like Tai Chi and Qigong.
Exactly. Those are great
Oh,
examples.
those fit into this framework?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Practices like Tai Chi and Qigong are all about cultivating Qi and promoting relaxation
Okay.
through gentle movement-focused attention and deep breathing.
It's like they embody that mind-body connection that TCM emphasizes so much.
Very much so.
It's not just about calming your mind, it's about harmonizing the energy throughout your whole system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And those practices can be incredibly powerful tools for managing stress and cultivating a sense of inner peace.
I can see that this deep dive is really opening my eyes to all these different approaches to well-being.
It is fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm already feeling inspired to explore some of these techniques.
That's great.
But before we get too carried away,
Yeah.
Maybe we should pause here
Okay.
and pick this up in our next segment.
That sounds good.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
We'll see you soon for part 3.
Sounds great.
All right. So we're back. We've been having this amazing conversation about TCM and mental wellness.
It's fascinating stuff, isn't it?
It really is. And, it's been amazing to learn about how this ancient practice
Yeah.
approaches these issues that we all deal with, like stress, anxiety, depression.
Viewing them as imbalances in the flow of ki.
Exactly. And we've talked about acupuncture, herbal medicine, even those fascinating lifestyle recommendations from Sian Chay.
Right. Lifestyle changes are key.
It is, I feel like I'm looking at wellness through a whole new lens.
I think that's the beauty of exploring different perspectives. It challenges our assumptions and opens up new possibilities.
So as we wrap up here, what are some of the key takeaways for you? What do you hope our listeners are taking away from all of this?
Well, for me, one of the things that really stands out is the emphasis on prevention
Okay.
and recognizing those early signs of imbalance.
So it's not about waiting until you're in crisis mode.
Exactly. TCM doesn't wait for a crisis.
Interesting.
It empowers you to take charge of your well-being through lifestyle choices and subtle adjustments.
Before things get really bad.
Exactly. It's like they're saying, don't wait until the river is overflowing to fix the dam.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
It's about addressing those little imbalances before they become big problems.
Right. So pay attention to those whispers from your body.
Exactly.
Are you having trouble sleeping, digestive issues, feeling irritable all the time?
Yeah. TCM sees these as signs that your chi might be out of whack.
And addressing those imbalances early on
Right.
can help prevent them from becoming, full-blown anxiety or depression. That's a really powerful concept.
It is.
It shifts the focus from reaction to prevention.
It does. And remember, TCM doesn't view mental and physical health as separate.
Right.
It's all connected through this flow of
That mind-body connection has been like such a central theme throughout our whole conversation.
It really has.
It makes you realize you can't ignore one to treat the other.
Absolutely. Everything from the food you eat to the thoughts you think can impact your energy
Right.
and overall well-being.
So as we leave our listener to kind of contemplate all this,
Yeah.
what's a final thought you want to leave them with? Something to ponder.
Well, I would encourage our listeners to think about this. What if instead of viewing mental and physical health as separate, we started seeing them as two sides of the same coin,
Okay.
interconnected and constantly influencing each other? How would that shift in perspective change the way you approach your own well-being?
Wow. That's a really profound question.
It is something to think about.
It challenges us to think differently about how we care for ourselves.
Yeah,
Well, I think we've given our listener a lot to consider today.
I think so.
Thank you so much for joining us on this amazing deep dive into TCM and mental wellness.
It's been my pleasure.
And if this conversation sparked your curiosity, we encourage you to explore further. Maybe look into what local TCM practitioners offer in your area. You might discover a whole new approach to supporting your well-being. Until next time, stay curious, stay balanced, and take care.